Hi, hello, greetings, good morning, happy holidays. I hope you did have a good holiday weekend. I keep telling all of my classes this, and frankly, it's the case like every fall term. By the time we arrive at the Thanksgiving holiday, everybody is so desperately in need of a break. It's incredibly welcomed and amazing to be able to step away for a moment. But it kind of cuts both ways, doesn't it? Because it is so brief and you just get this little tiny taste of freedom and like a little bit of respite and this sort of thing before you're just immediately catapulted back into the frenetic sprint to the finish line that is the last couple of weeks. So, huh. But we're all psychologists here, right? So we know it's all about framing. So all we have to do is construct it in our minds to recognize, this is great. I'm now reinvigorated and absolutely ready to tackle all that stands before me. And if it isn't clear, I'm doing this exclusively for me. This isn't about you. I'm just trying to sell myself on this stuff at this point. I don't know if it's working. We'll find out. Anyway, um, I wanted to finally get a message to you because we are now in week 10. We're facing down the very small, finite number of days that we have left. And somewhere in a parallel, universe, we were going to be embarking on a sort of term project to kind of capture things and to put a capstone on the course. And of course, these poor people who are over in whatever pocket of the multiverse that still have to do that, I feel bad for them. We, on the other hand, have made a very prudent decision to just eliminate that from the picture. And you'll be unsurprised, I imagine, to learn that I didn't get any dissent when I put that option out there. So I think we're pretty okay with the idea. But with that being said, so what are we facing? Where are we? Where have we been? Where are we at? Where are we going? I want to, as quickly as I can, try to capture that and try to be very clear so that we know exactly where we sit, what to expect, and what we're going to be doing over these handfuls of days that we have left. Let me kind of dive in, kind of piece by piece, and speak to what's going on with those things, and yeah, elaborate on them. And so, as I've said before, it's the case now as it was at every other point in the term. Given the nature of the course and the due dates and everything else, we have a massive variability in our class as to where people currently sit with the labs, with the quizzes, with the readings, with all of that sort of thing. So I can't sort of give you a monolithic, generalized picture necessarily, but I can give you the big snapshot and then we can establish a course from that wherever you sit and what needs to be done from there. So let's start with quizzes. So you've been doing the quizzes throughout the term, and I should have gone in before I recorded this to actually remind myself precisely where I sit with all of the things via grading, but I'm most of the way through all the quizzes. That's what I'm doing in the coming hours and day and next couple days is to wrap all this up. So with the quizzes, we're using this last time now, not for a final, not for the project, but just for us to be able to go back to these pieces that we've worked on throughout the term and polish them up, revisit them, fix them, redo them, however you want to think about it. So with the quizzes, I'm up through most of the modules, most of the areas there, and so all of those. What I did is I went in yesterday into Canvas. Every single quiz, modules 1 through 8, I've redone the settings within those such that all of you, when you log into Canvas now, should be able to go to any one of those quizzes and you have an additional take on it. That is, you have a retake. You can take it twice, basically. I also have it set so that it automatically just extracts whatever the highest grade is of the two. And so if you're revisiting something from early on, turns out you didn't perform as well as you did actually the first go around, that's fine. We keep the first one. If you're able to kind of fix things and address whatever and do better, then we'll take the second one. So that should already be set up and should be pretty straightforward. And insofar as my getting in and getting the grading and feedback and things like that for the second round of those, I will come back to that here as I get to the other end of talking about perusal and the labs and the other moving parts too here in a moment. So that should be easy enough. And obviously, as always, if there is any issue, anything like that, which seems so impossible in this course, let me know and we'll get it fixed as quickly as humanly possible. I've been saying that so much. Anyway, labs. So in the same way, right, we've gone through all these labs. I've given feedback on most of them at this point. I still have a couple I need to do kind of across the board for people. And with those, so without getting into the nitty gritty of it, it's a little more difficult because, as you know, those labs at the very least contain the JASP file. Often it's a JASP file, maybe a Word or a PDF file, sometimes an Excel file or a number. Like there's moving parts and there's different considerations there. It's a little less straightforward for me to go in and to redo the actual submission assignment page within Canvas. So what I guess I would like to propose, or what I'm going to request essentially, and this should, I think it's going to be the easiest for you, and I think it's going to be the easiest for me, which is to, if you're going to redo a lab, fix a lab, resubmit a lab, or just send it for the first time because it's not there, probably the easiest thing to do is, rather than trying to do it through Canvas, is just to email it directly to me. And I know there's about 5,000 different ways to message me, which adds even more wonderful confusion. You can do it through Canvas. You can do it through my webpage. You can do it through the email. You can do it through this portal. There's all these different things. The easiest way by far is just from your email to my email. I have files set up for each and every one of you. And then as those things would pop up into my inbox, all I have to do is just grab it, drag it to your file, drag it to your file, drag it to your file. And that way, as I'm going through trying to perform the final grading, I have the originals in Canvas, and then provided you had an updated or a fixed or a redone version, then I have that in this other file, and then I can cross-reference those and make sure that I'm getting your grades inputted appropriately for the work. So with the quizzes, you have the retakes right there in Canvas. With the labs, please just send those as attachments in emails to me. That way, it's going to make things just way more clear and easy. Okay, last one, perusal. So I've gone also through most all the perusal readings as far as your annotations, your comments, your conversations, questions, the things like that. I think I provided a little bit more feedback kind of early on to try to give a little more guidance and helpful kinds of information. I've become a little bit more succinct as we've moved along, since you pretty much know at that point what I was talking about. So I'm finishing all those up as well. But as with the other things, you are still very welcome to go back into perusal. And if you had not done annotations through a reading, you still can put those there. If I had given you feedback, you had put something in, but I wrote back and I'm like, hey, I saw you made like a comment, or you included a hashtag, or there was a couple things, sort of indicating maybe it wasn't quite sufficient for what we were trying to do. Well, then you also still can revisit and make additional contributions, things like that in there. And I more or less have things written out for myself as far as all of those go, as far as the original. I know some of you have already been back into those since my first go around and my first readings through everything. And so I guess here's where I want to kind of tie in not just the perusal piece, but also the labs and also the quizzes, which is, as we now move into this arena where, like I say, in the next day, like the whole thing I'm doing right now is to finish my first round of everything that you've submitted, to completely get through the first round of perusal, total first round of labs, total first round of quizzes. And then some of you have already been sending me redos of some of the things that you've done. So I'm filing those. And what I anticipate for sure is over the course of this week and of course going into next week, I'm going to be continuing to receive labs, and your quizzes will be getting updated and the perusals will start filling in. So just like you guys are swamped here at the end of the term with finals and papers and projects and everything else that comes with this, it of course is an extraordinarily chaotic time for me as well, because all of the finals and the papers and the projects and the labs and the everything else just comes pouring in. So I'm going to be trying to allow some time. It's going to take time for you all to be able to revisit these things, get them sent in, get them submitted, things like that. And so I will be getting on top of that second round, but because there's already a whole mountain of other things, and because they're going to be rolling in, I have no doubt, up until the last minute, I really probably will be diving into your resubmissions of everything next week during finals week, because once those are in, they're in, and my of course focus is getting all the feedback and the everything to you about the first round, so that you are equipped to do those redos or second versions, however you want to refer to it. So that is the plan. I'm trying to think. I'm certain that there's other aspects that are eluding me. So we'll see. It's quite enough to throw at you, I think, for this morning with all of this. I hope that makes sense. It should be pretty straightforward. Again, all we are doing now at this stage of the term is to go back and polish up all of the work that we've had through the term. So nothing new, nothing big, scary, terrible. And that as I wrap all these things up, as you can always count on, I mean, I'll be in touch as I'm doing it. And of course, as always, please let me know if there are questions, if you need clarification on anything, etc. I guess one last thing I didn't want to forget to add, at least on the end of this, and I've said it to my other sections too, which is I always strive to be incredibly on top of things as best I can given the circumstances. This fall, this term has been it's been bananas. But I'm still, trying extremely hard to make sure I'm on top of my messages. I'm getting back to people. I'm addressing everything that needs to be addressed. But having said that, I know full well that despite how hard I'm trying, just given the circumstances, I have zero doubt that there are things that are slipping through the cracks for me. That is, I have no doubt I've missed a couple things here or there. And I only bring this up because, number one, I hate that. That's the last thing I want to do. And so, for instance, if you've emailed me and you didn't get a response, or if you have something else that's sort of hanging out there, please know it's absolutely not my intention. If I've missed anything, if I hadn't responded, or if something is still hanging out there, I just genuinely missed it. And so please don't be bashful to give me a good nudge or a good reminder, like, hey, asshole, come on, like, I need this answered, or I need this thing, or blah, blah, blah. So yeah, just don't hesitate to hassle me a little bit, because if something's hanging out there, that's the last thing I want to do. So, okay, this is a long rambling message at this point. Yeah, we're going on almost 15 minutes, so I'm going to shut up. I do hope this finds you doing really, really well. I hope that everything is wrapping up good for you, just broadly, in general, as we go into this last section. I will definitely be in touch over the next week, days, week, whatever, as all of these things are happening. And damn, we're almost there. So keep with it. Keep up the good work. We'll be done before we know it. That's just always how this works. And so we'll be in touch, and take care. Cheers.